Hey guys, skimming off the grid here. Konami's Castlevania Collection has arrived and we downloaded the copy on the Nintendo Switch. In today's episode, we're going to let you know, is this collection worth it? What are we drinking today?
We're drinking One Tough Cookie by Lake Time Brewery. It's an imperial oatmeal stout brewed with monster cookies. Wow.
Sounds very intriguing. You know the drill. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell icon so you never miss an upload. And sit back, relax, pour yourself a beer if you care to, and stay tuned for this episode of Gaming Off the Grid.
Hi, this is Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters, and you're watching Gaming Off the Grid.
Alright, here we go. The Castlevania Collection has arrived from Konami, and it is the second release in this collection series they're doing this year.
Yeah, to celebrate their 50th anniversary, and this collection is so sweet. It comes with 8 games. It comes with the original Castlevania on NES, Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest on NES, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse on NES. Then it comes with Castlevania The Adventure on Game Boy. Then it comes with Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge, which is also on the Game Boy, which is really sweet. It comes with Kid Dracula, which was for the NES or Famicom in Japan only, so it's kind of sweet that now we have it in It comes with Castlevania 4 for the Super Nintendo, and then Castlevania Bloodlines, or New Generation, whatever you want to call it. Vampire Killer.
Yeah, so the version that is on the collection, at least here anyway, is the North American version. So we'll just call it Bloodlines for this episode. But all these games in one collection for a pretty low barrier of entry, I would say, $19.99.
Yeah, that's a super low price, and I do get it's only digital. And that's our gripe about the first collection. It's going to be our gripe about this collection. And then the third collection, the Contra one. Physical. Come on, we need physical for this. I just want to be able to touch it, and it comes with a sweet book.
Yeah.
It shows like the history, and it shows like the North American covers and the Japanese covers, which is super cool because most of the Japanese covers look way cooler than our covers. I want the book in my hand. More than anything else, I just want to sniff it.
Sniff it?
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do with books.
The games. How do the games play? The emulation. And I was struck by how well the games emulated and how well they play. I believe M2 is involved with this project. They do a very good job, and they've done a lot of other emulation projects in the past. And these games feel very, very responsive. We didn't notice much input lag as far as that goes. I think I would notice for sure on Castlevania 1, 3, and 4. The rest of them I don't have a ton of experience with. I've dabbled, but I know those games pretty well, and I didn't feel any input lag. But there is a little bit of an issue with the way the buttons were mapped, in my opinion.
Yes.
On the NES. Now, they're not mapped wrong, so that's not
the issue.
No, it's a feel thing. So, you know, they mapped B and A the way they should, and I'm looking at a Switch Pro controller here, and B and A, B, A. Well, if you've played those games a lot on the NES, or any NES game for that matter, you usually put your thumb on, like, right around the joint area on the B, and you rock over
to hit A.
To hit A.
Yeah.
Well, with the ergonomics of this controller, you would have to hold the controller really weird to be able to do that. So to make it feel the way it should, in my mind, it should have been Y and B and X and A.
Yes, so then you could do this motion.
Yeah, it's small gripe, but I do think your hardcore folks, that's going to bother them, because it was bothering the hell out of me. I just couldn't get my mind
it's because it's
around it.
It's like riding a bike, you know, and it's like, oh, I can't do that motion. Why? And then I didn't realize that at first until you brought that up, and I was like, oh, that's why it feels weird.
Yeah.
I'm not used to doing this other motion.
So, you know, that's not something, you know, I don't even know what would have made them. They would have had to have like a retro gamer or a hardcore person in the room suggest that, because they did map the buttons to the correct corresponding buttons on the controller. Now, the other games, you know, like the 16-bit era games, well, you know, Castlevania 4 was on a 4-button controller, so that's not as big of a deal.
It's fine. It's just on the NES games.
Yeah, that I definitely noticed that. So that would be a small nitpick, but aside from that, I think there's a ton of value in this collection, and this is one of those collections that I really like because it brings retro games to the modern gamer.
Yes.
That's a big thing for us.
Which is so sweet, and I love, you know, how anyone can get this collection. They can play the really sweet original Castlevania games. If you're a young kid, you missed those, and they were before your time. They were before my time, so it's just so cool, and it's for a modern system. It's available on every platform: Steam, Xbox One, PS4, Switch. We got ours on the Switch just for the portability, and It's so sweet. This collection's awesome.
Yeah, and we did go through the list of games, and for me, when I seen Kid Dracula was on there, I know I was really excited about it. And that game plays way different than the other Castlevania games. If you haven't played Kid Dracula, it's more of a fun art style, more of a kid art style, I would say. Side-scrolling platformer, almost feels like more of a Mega Man type game.
Yes, it does. But like it's in the Castlevania world,
Yeah.
kind of. The art's kind of similar, but it's a really fun, different game,
Yep.
and I'm glad that I have it because I've never played before, and it was only available in Japan legally.
Yep. So we got the Americanized version of it. I don't know what the specifics are, but I have heard through the grapevine there are a few artistic edits to make it more politically correct and things like that for the States, which it doesn't really bother me one bit. The collection of games kind of stops at the 16-bit era. There's no Rondo of Blood, there's no Symphony of the Night here.
Which kind of sucks.
It does, but they did just release that Castlevania Requiem series a few months back.
Yes.
So I think that's probably why they're not on.
I mean, I get those games are incredible, but it's only $20 and you get 8 games, and some of them are super, like Bloodlines. That game is incredible. It's so cool to be able to play the Game Boy games, even though Castlevania The Adventure is kind of
It's
rough.
It's a little clunky. We did a live stream of it, and Brian Newland was like, it's not horrible. And he's a pretty big Castlevania connoisseur, but it does feel very sluggish. But
it was for the Game Boy, though.
The other one on there, the
The second one, Belmont's Revenge.
Yes, that one plays very well.
Yeah, that one's really tight, and I just love going through the different versions of the games. You can go back and forth, and this collection has save states, which is super sweet because you couldn't do that on the originals.
They offer a couple other things as well. So there's the save states, there's borders on the screen.
Yes.
Some people like those, some don't. So the standard one is just a black border. So some people find them to be distracting. Some people like to cutesy up their TV screen a little bit with the borders. And there's 2 other ones you can choose from. There's save states. They're also, like any good emulating of games, there's an option for scan lines, pixel perfect. You can stretch the frame, all those things. Scan lines don't really pertain to us much because we play everything on CRTs anyway.
Yeah.
But they are cool options to be had. The value is 100% there. If you are a fan of the Castlevania series and you want to play these games on the go, I think you need to get it. I think this game has more value on the Switch because of the portability.
Yes.
And because of that portability, I'm willing to look back past something that you've already touched on, which is the lack of a physical release. The area that really stands out to me in this release is the book. They did such a good job with this digital book. It's huge. It honestly offers some things that I think even your casual Castlevania fan who played even the NES games would appreciate. There's a history section. There's a timeline section. And if you're a Castlevania fan, you get your head tied in knots with the different characters and the pathways of the stories and things like that. And sometimes it doesn't even really make a lot of sense. As a fan of the series, that is awesome to be able to go back and trace the lineage almost of the Belmonts and why are they doing what they're doing. If I can't feel it, if I can't smell those pages,
and it's
that's
like,
a big deal.
On the TV, there's so many words and you have to zoom in, and it's just kind of a pain in the ass to be able to read it.
Yeah.
It's cool to flip through and look at the pictures. That's what we did when we first got it, but I'm not going to actually read it unless it's physical. And what kind of sucks is all like the die-hard retro gamer fans that we know will only get this if it's physical.
Yep.
So you're kind of losing a demographic only having it digital, but it is only $20, so it's...
Yeah, there's no complaint with the price. For $19.99, I can swallow that. But I do think that, like you said, they're missing a huge demographic that would be all over this. And honestly, the Switch kind of, I feel like, serves retro gamers very well. And we would be willing to spend, I'm just thinking if they did a collection of this right, I'd pay full game price, 60, 70.
Yeah, I might even spend $80. Like if there was like a limited run and it came in a cool case and it came with the booklet, $80 and they said it was available, heck yes, I would buy it because it would be fantastic.
Yeah, so Konami has really circled the wagons. They are heading in a really good direction. We've been big fans of a lot of their releases over the last year and a half. These collections are awesome, and we were so jacked up for the arcade collection, for this collection, and
Contra.
These don't even amount to combined how excited we are for the Contra collection.
Yes.
So they're doing some awesome things and really taking us back through memory lane with all the amazing games that they put out. But physical release, and maybe there'll be a one that has all the classic collections or something like that.
Really
now,
cool.
if they did that with like some figurines or something, I'd spend $150, $200 on a full collection.
You'd come in a box. One thing I do want to say before we jump into the beer review is on the main menu, I love the way it looks. It's not how it was in the arcade. It wasn't the same layout, which is super cool. It was up and down. The arcade one was left and right. And what's cool is when you hover over the game, on the side, there's like scrolling text, and it explains the backstory of that individual game, and it like goes in depth, which I think is so cool. So you don't, if you don't know anything about the series, you can get caught up and know what you're jumping into.
Yeah,
and that's so cool.
And honestly, in your situation, you know, with where you came into gaming, like 64 and beyond, some of that stuff, you've played the games, but you maybe haven't dug into the backstory.
Yeah, and I don't know the story, and I know Dracula, and I know Simon, and Simon has a brother, Bell. I don't know. Yeah, see, I don't really know the story, but I just love how they include it. It's just like little details, and this collection is beautiful. It's incredible.
He thinks he's Simon Belmont because of Super Smash Brothers, but you know, whatever. But anyways, let's jump into this beer. Again, I want to let you kick this off because I have dabbled in this beer prior to filming this, so I want to see what you think.
It's a really good Imperial Oatmeal Stout. You can taste the cookie in this, and it's really good, and it's really smooth too for being like an Imperial Oatmeal Stout. It has a lot of good flavor. It is really dark, so when you pour it, you're like, oh wow. That is dark, but it's a really good beer.
So I really enjoy this beer, but I'm going to sound like a beer snob here, and I'm really not. But here's the thing. I really, really like this, and I will buy it a bunch. However, I do not necessarily agree with the descriptions on the can, and I feel like I was maybe led down a little bit of a wrong path. Great Imperial Stout, yes. Great Oatmeal Stout, yes. Where my rub comes in is that monster cookie.
The monster cookie.
So what I'm getting that comes through, it's sweet, yes, but I'm only getting peanut butter that is coming through. I'm getting, it almost is like a peanut butter stout or a peanut butter porter.
Yes.
Now, a very damn good one at that, but I'm not getting all the flavors. Like, there's a list of things on the can of like things that are in there, and I feel like the peanut butter kind of overtakes it.
Well, I feel like peanut butter it's a hard flavor to mix.
It is,
because it's such an aggressive flavor. You gotta like kind of counterbalance with the other flavors, so it's tough, but it's really good.
It's a really good beer. That's the thing. I've bought, I think, 2 4-packs of it, or 6-packs. I can't remember how it comes, and I really, really enjoy it. But I was expecting a little more of a flavor profile adventure. But I'm a huge fan of oatmeal stouts, imperial stouts, all things stouts, and this is a very damn good one. Had this been framed a little different, I would say could be in the conversation of like one of the better stouts I've had. But it doesn't deliver on what it promises, right? So a nitpick, but very good beer, and we've just kind of started digging into this brewery's catalog, so we were excited to check the rest of their beers out because they're making a very quality product. So the whole point of the episode, is this collection worth it? I think you know our answer. For $19.99, I would say, if you're a Castlevania fan, you know, I still think it's worth it. If you have most of these games, what's convenience worth to you? Because we have access to a good chunk of these games. The exception, Kid Dracula and the Game Boy games.
Yes.
But for us, being on the road, filming off-site, doing things like that, it's like, man, having them all on the Switch is awesome.
And screen cap, you know, HDMI.
Big fan of what Konami is doing with this series. Really looking forward to the Contra one.
Oh, yes.
And we'll definitely get it. We'll get it day one. We'll probably do an episode just like this on it, and you're going to hear the same thing again until they put out a physical release. And people will probably be like, well, I'll just wait for the physical, and that way I don't spend the money twice. It's worth the $20 to me to have it right now.
Yep.
I'll spend the money again when we get a physical release. So I'm going to say when we get a physical release, because for some reason, I just feel it in my soul that Konami knows that's the right thing to do.
In his soul?
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. I don't know how, don't know when, don't know where, but we got to have it. Basically, it's one of those things, we just got to have a physical release. Have to. So it's got to happen. So anyways, we always appreciate you tuning in and subscribing to the channel. Keep gaming, keep drinking, get out there and pick up the Castlevania Collection from Konami, and we'll see you next time right here on Gaming Off the Grid. Notice that we downloaded the copy.
Because we didn't pick it up.
Yeah.
Because you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks a lot, Bin Laden. Wow.
Sounds very intriguing. You know that... fuck. What are we drinking today?
Today we're drinking One Tough Cookie by Lake Time Brewery. It's a damn it.
Hey guys, Gaming Off the Grid here. Konami's